Hello. Name and responsibility, please.
I'm Manos Antoninis. I am Senior Policy Analyst at the EFA Global Monitoring Report, and I work particularly on the monitoring section of the report, which tracks the 6 EFA goals. As you probably know, the 6 goals were agreed in Dakar in 2000 by 164 governments, and they were meant to be achieved by 2015. Since 2002, and this has been actually the 10th report, this team at Paris has been monitoring how the world, the regions, the countries have been doing towards achieving these goals.
Can you please tell us about this particular report? What's the issue and what is scope and ambition of the report?
Yes, the Global Monitoring Report has every year a specific theme. So the second half of the report is actually focusing on a theme, sometimes a theme specific to a goal, sometimes a theme that is cross-cutting across the 6 goals. This year the report has focused on youth and skills for employment. This is part of Goal 3 of the EFA framework, which refers generally to goals, to issues related to youth and adult skills. Of course, skills for employment are only one set of skills that young people and adults need to go through life. But we considered that focusing on skills for employment was particularly relevant at the current global context, with issues such as rising youth unemployment, economic downturn in parts of the world that affects the whole world, but also the fact that at the moment we have 1 in 6 young people, 1 in 6 people being young, belonging to the youth age group, and that is in absolute terms the largest cohort of young people ever before, which means increasing challenges for everybody.
Can you tell us how the world is doing in terms of the 6 EFA goals?
The key message of this year's Global Monitoring Report is that unfortunately we are off track to achieving these goals. With goals such as universal primary education, in fact there is stagnation. What the report had foreseen a couple of years ago seems unfortunately to have materialized. That means that since 2008 the number of children out of school has stagnated at 61 million, and that means that there is no way we can meet this target by 2015. What is most worrying is that almost half of these children are projected never to enroll to school. Now, clearly there is progress with the other goals. For example, enrollments in pre-primary education, indicators of early childhood care, gender parity. There has been progress on the whole, but we are not going to reach the targets that were agreed in 2000.
Can you tell us, in particular, thinking about Latin America, what are the specific challenges that the region is facing?
Now, Latin America obviously has made faster progress than the other regions. For example, compared to a global average of 1 in 2 children attending pre-primary school, in Latin America the gross enrollment ratio increased from 54% in 1999 to 70% in 2010. And we can also say that unlike the global trend of stagnation in the number of out-of-school adolescents, that means children and young people of lower secondary school age, which has stagnated globally since 2007 at 71 million. On the contrary, in Latin America, this number was halved over the period, from to almost 1.7 million young people. But there are challenges. The report focuses in some detail in gender disparity of a reverse kind at secondary level. In the majority of countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, with very few exceptions, it is mainly boys who are losing out on their education at the lower and particularly upper secondary level. And the report also draws attention to the fact that with respect to the sixth goal, which is the goal of quality, the goal that is most likely to receive increasing attention in the coming years, that Latin American countries have particularly wide inequalities in achievement between different groups in the population, and particularly between those who are of the most advantaged socioeconomic background compared to those who are at the bottom of the run.
Talking about specifically about this monitoring report, in what issues does it shed light regarding the global situation of youth and work, and how, and what does it propose for the governments and societies to improve the situation?
Latin America has a lot of things to show to the rest of the world. Of course, there are issues that relate to youth and skills that are not particularly relevant for Latin America. The report draws particular attention to the fact that there are 200 million people of the age group 15 to 24 who have not finished primary education. This is of course a legacy of past failures to ensure access to education for all. The percentage is much smaller and the numbers are much smaller in Latin America, but even in a country like Brazil, we found that there are approximately 20% of young people who have not, for example, finished lower secondary school. Clearly, in recent years, Brazil has made major progress across almost all indicators, but the legacy of the past still affects people who are still young and are just entering the labor market. As I said though, the region has a lot to teach and to show to the rest of the world, and there are a number of examples where successful policies are applied in Latin American countries are actually finding their way in other parts of the world. Needless to say, the experience of the conditional cash transfers seems to be one of the main export products of the region. We draw attention to successful examples of how curricula have been adapted to suit local needs and vocational needs, for example in rural areas in Colombia. We also demonstrate the experience of combining entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial skills development that are sensitive to the needs of disadvantaged young people. For example, we draw attention to experiences in the Dominican Republic where projects have been designed to take into account the lack of basic foundation skills for some young people who are disadvantaged. This synergy between providing general entrepreneurial skills with skills that are essential yet lacking in some young people is also a way forward. Now, we can add a few issues that need attention. We have mentioned the conditional cash transfers, yet we noted in the report that insufficient attention has been paid to the problem of young boys who drop out of school too early. There hasn't yet been a reaction by policymakers to take this issue into account. Clearly, some greater attention needs to be paid for young boys who drop out of school in order to go to work. We also draw attention to the more general issue of skills that have not generally received attention across the world, but yet seem to be particularly important to the world of work. We have generally recognized foundation skills, which are basic numeracy and literacy, and for which Latin America has been making progress. We, of course, recognize the existence of specific technical and vocational skills, which usually technical and vocational education systems are serving, and there are certain good examples in Latin America. But there are also other skills. We call these transferable skills. They are both cognitive and also non-cognitive. research recognizes that these skills, such as the ability to communicate, the teamwork, the confidence, the leadership skills, are very important and can be affected by full education systems even at the secondary education level. But systems of education across the world, but also in Latin America, have not moved in that direction to incorporate such skills which are essential for young people today. We recognize that it is a very difficult task. It involves changes in the curriculum, teacher training, but also assessment eventually, so that everybody's attention focuses on them. And we invite governments to take this into account in future reforms.
Thank you very much.